What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Happy Skews Day to you. It's August 22nd, 2023. I'm Trey. That's Mark. What's up, Mark?
Done, Trey. I'm excited about today's show. It's going to be a fun one. We're talking about some real old-fashioned corruption deep in the heart of Texas. We get talking
Love it.
about it's got everything. You got drunks, you got Uber-related affairs, you got perverts, you got pen stealing, it's got everything. It's very Texas. Um,
Yeah, it's very old school. I actually did. I'm sure you know all about it, but I didn't know until I did a Patreon episode on him about like LBJ, like straight up like buying elections and tech, like through intimidation and bribery and stuff like
uh-huh.
that. And it's like a documented fact, like when he was, coming up in Texas politics or whatever. So they got a long, and I mean, I'm sure every state probably has a long and storied history of that, but
Mhm.
Texas truly shines. So
Machine politics, baby. Back when America worked. A couple of things we get to the show. Happy birthday to my wife. I'm taking her a Thai food to her axe throwing league later as a present. That's what she wanted. So
That's
that's what I'm
lovely. I
doing.
just ordered my son's Thai food tonight, so it's a Thai food Tuesday, baby. Yeah,
Nice.
happy birthday, Aaron. Katie left for Tennessee for like 10 days this morning because
Mhm.
she's doing work on the house I grew up in because we're like trying to like sell it or whatever. So like I'm at home with the kids while she's like, ripping out insulation and putting up drywall and stuff because that's how our relationship works. But anyway, so yeah,
Yeah.
fun times
I'm
over here.
Yeah, I'm on strike slash unemployed. My wife's working, so we're house husbands. I like it.
Hmm.
So a couple. So Trump's going to turn himself in Thursday. Got $200,000 bond, which is both not enough and like why. But
Yeah, right.
also late breaking story this evening. The IT guy at Mar-a-Lago, name is Tavares, I think. He apparently flipped or whatever. He
That
got
one guy, that like his like right hand man guy, or the one that the
not
dude with the pool and all that shit who like went
That's
down with
Walt.
him.
That's Walt
That's Walt.
Nauta.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Tavares was the guy Walt Nauta was trying to get to delete the footage unsuccessfully or
Okay,
whatever.
all
So
right.
I guess Trump's super PAC was paying for his lawyer, and the government was like, if you want to keep your testimony the way it is, you can, but we're going to charge you with perjury. And he's like, okay, I'll get my own lawyer. And then immediately retracted all his testimony and changed it. So there you go. That's your Trump update for the day. I was laughing before we got on because I saw this story, medieval times, and their ever going a long going struggle against their one a restaurant that's trying to unionize is
Yeah.
when it might be get dinged for unfair labor practices. And one of the things they were doing is they tried to get the union's TikTok account banned.
Mhm.
And that's so funny to me because you imagine you're the lawyer for medieval times. The boss comes in, it's like we gotta stop the songs on TikTok are radicalizing the proletariat as the Green
Right.
Knight sings about wage
Yeah, I
slavery.
was about to say, yeah, like trying to get rid of the bard. Like they got a bard on TikTok or whatever. You got like a magistrate that you're
Yeah,
making your case to. It's a barrister. This guy's a barrister with like a powdered wig and all that stuff. Represent medieval time. They should do that. I mean, why not?
yeah.
Like that. Just like keep everything the same about what they're going for, but just old timey it up, even in the courtroom or whatever. I feel like that would endear people to them further.
Yeah, like if the execs do get dinged for unfair labor, like the National Labor Review Board should like put them in stocks and tar and feather
Yeah,
them and shit. That
yeah.
would hit
Throw
me.
tomatoes at them. Hmm.
Yeah. So, also your home state, Tennessee's at it again. Bill Lee called a special session about gun control, I guess, because the typical Republican evolution on any issue is you're personally touched by it. So I guess he had two friends, the Covenant School, got shot. So now he's like maybe for a little more gun control. And the Tennessee Three are also all about to get kicked out again because they keep getting their mics cut off for trying to get. It's just
Yeah.
like just same
Something
movie over and
happened
over
in,
again.
like, the house there today, right? Or something. But
Yeah,
I don't know the details of it.
they made the debate rules you can't hold up signs. So literally, if the Covenant School parents held up an 8 by 11 sheet of paper that said gun reform, please, they could get kicked out of the gallery. It's like that restrictive. They like the Tennessee State Troopers cleared out. It's all very like just they're doing the same shit that got everybody pissed off again the first time, and I don't know why we're doing this all over again, but. Melissa Joan Hart gave a rousing speech yesterday about gun control in Nashville. She's been a long time Republican, so but she's also involved with Mom's Demand because
Melissa Joan Hart,
Mhm.
the,
Yeah.
Clarissa, she
Yeah.
got up and explained it all, and
She explained it all.
explained it
Yeah.
all to the Tennessee House and she's a hardcore Republican. I didn't know any of that. She's one
She
that pops
got
in my head every now and then, like, whatever happened to her? But I didn't think that would be the answer, but okay.
It wasn't to the house for the record, just like at a rally in Nashville. But yeah, she was like a Bob Dole supporter when she was on Sabrina the Teenage Witch. So she's been a long time Republican, but apparently Republican supports gun control. I want. So the Marion, we talked last week about the Marion County Record, that little newspaper that got shut down by the local sheriff, and we were making fun of the Streisand effect of it all because it was about a story they weren't even going to publish. They got the whole world to know about this business owner's DUI, police chief being a sex pervert. So another aspect of this, the judge that signed the warrant, turns out she has her own history of multiple DUIs. The woman named of Judge Laura Villar, who was arrested twice in 2012. The second time she was driving a county-owned vehicle that didn't belong to her. It was apparently another county official. It's when she was a prosecutor, and I guess she was, I don't know, having an affair or whatever. Let me take that back. I don't know that. I know she was driving another public servant's car, drunk. She crashed it into a school football team shed.
That's pretty American, very middle American of her. Also, she's a prosecutor at the time, but still,
now she's a
the judge in my hometown got caught with a bunch of cocaine back in the 90s and just kept on being the judge forever after that. May still be, for all I know.
Yeah, I mean, a small-time sheriff or judge is basically a license to do some low-level cocaine trafficking. That's the main reason to do it in most of America. But I can't. These people, like, no one knew they were up to any of this shit, and no one cared. But they had to harass this newspaper. And by the way, the newspaper's back online, and the publisher said fuck it and published a story they didn't think they had the goods on the police chief on. So now, like, that's on the record now. So like, it's. I fuck all these people. I'm glad they're getting embarrassed, if not any sort of accountability. So this next story I may want to talk about was sad. Do you want to talk about it or no?
I mean, it is super sad, but I don't know. I feel like she sort of deserves a shout out's not the right word to use in the context.
You know what?
You know what I mean?
I'm not going to spin it as sad. I'm going to talk. Let's talk about it as a life well lived. And this lady did get 66 years. This woman, last name name's Lori Carlton. She was shot and killed out here in California a couple days ago by this right wing psycho because she had a pride flag in the window of her store. She had a husband and 9 kids. We know it was a hate crime. The guy got killed by the cops a little bit later because he was shooting at sheriff's deputies, but he made a bunch of hateful statements about the pride flag before killing her. The asshole's name was Travis Ikaguchi. He had a bunch of stuff on his social media about, all gays being groomers and perverts and pedophiles. And so about this lady, she was 66 when at the time of her death. The kind of person she was. There was a blizzard earlier this year, and she opened up her store to anybody who needed stuff and let them have it for free if they needed supplies to those who were stuck in the blizzard. And the kicker to the story that really got me when I was reading it last night. I'll just read this right here. At Miss Carlton's Lake Arrowhead home after the shooting, her family opened a package that had been left at the doorstep. The flag at the store had begun to fade. Ari Carlton said her mother had ordered a new one.
Yeah.
So people had continuously stolen her pride flag and it got dirt. And she just kept hanging it right the fuck back up. And I think the way I'll put it is no one's going to remember this asshole psycho whose name I'm not going to say anymore. But Lori Carlton will live on fondly remembered with everyone who ever knew her. So
so
which person would you rather be?
Right. It's wild. Like you said, this happened in California. I see pride flags all over California and in businesses and elsewhere all the time, and it's just a wild and tragic thing. But it's also, and I know this like goes without saying, and also we've said versions of it repeatedly over the past months or years or whatever. But like, this is why it is genuinely so dangerous that this whole narrative they're building about they're all groomers and like wrapping LGBT up in like child molestation and child trafficking and all the QAnon shit and all the shit that they're like getting so into, because it like gives these people some kind of justification in their brains for taking extreme measures like this. Do you know what I mean? It's not, it takes it beyond just like, I don't agree with that lifestyle. I think it's a sin, or even it grosses me out or whatever. And it takes it into another level of like, these people are evil and must be stopped. And when the people who have that opinion are also like the gun nut lunatic, faction, then this is the kind of shit that ends up happening.
Yeah, he only followed like 9 Twitter accounts, and they were all the ones you'd expect. It was like Jordan Peterson and Matt Walsh, and the same people all these psychos follow. And I honestly don't know how these people sleep at night because
Yeah,
it's like they
right.
keep calls. Yep, yeah, whatever.
They'll probably call him some kind of false flag or something like that, or say
Oh,
there's got to be more to it, or whatever. They'll spin it some
yeah,
way if they acknowledge it at all.
they already have. They're saying that the public story is fake. That she was actually killed by her brother over some lovers quarrel because they were in some sort of incest relationship or something. It's like they did it. They did it immediately. Immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is wild. All right. Well, moving on with us as always is producer Matt. This is Weekly Skews. Before we continue with the show, I want to remind you of a few things. Number one, if you want to see me perform live, thanks for everybody that came to Burlington, Vermont last weekend. That was loads of fun. My next shows are actually in Texas, the subject of our show tonight. I'll be in Austin September 15th and 16th. We just added a late show on the 16th. So thank you guys for that. Still tickets available. And then I got a big Ohio run coming up and a lot of other places after that. So come and see me. Go to TreyCrowder.com. Also at Trey Crowder, you can find a link to pre-order the book I wrote with Corey Forrester called Round Here and Over Yonder. It's a humorous travel guide written by two hillbilly dipshits. So we hope you enjoy that. Also, Matt wanted me to remind you guys because I was doing pretty good about it for a while and then I forgot. Another thing said before, if you dig the show and you watch this show, thank you very much. We love you watching. We show clips and stuff like that. But even if you use any kind of podcast app at all, Stitcher, the Apple Podcast app or anything, if you use any of that for anything else, if you could go on that and just subscribe to the show, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything, but it would help us out in numerous ways. Speaking of helping us out, last thing, if you want to support the show, you can do so by signing up on Patreon. You go to weeklyskews.com/more or just go on Patreon and look me up. Either way works. $5 a month gets you access to full-length bonus episodes. We did a 2-part Q&A recently. We got another one, another episode coming up soon. We cover things we don't get to in the main show, things that come up in between, or just stuff we want to talk about. We have a lot of fun with it. We hope you will consider signing up on Patreon, get some more skews in your life. Now, as for the show tonight, as I referenced, we're talking about Texas continuing their ongoing battle with Florida for the craziest, assholiest state. Texas has opened up a new salvo this week, and like Mark said, a lot of lunacy to get into. Hard to believe, but it's true. But before we get to all that, I want to start with the Daily Dumbass. Matt, graphic, please. Tonight's DD, anybody from South Dakota who doesn't realize it's just a short walk down to Mexico. Let's see, Matt's governor, Kristi Noem.
And the vast majority of the drugs in the Midwest are coming right through South Dakota on these reservations that I can't do anything about. The people of South Dakota live with being on the front line of this mess every single day because the cartels are set up in South Dakota too. And
right, South Dakota, front line of the border crisis.
So there's a lot going on here. This is Kristi Noem. She's speaking at it was a live streamed appearance at the border with Greg Abbott, Republican Governor Greg Abbott of Texas, Kim Reynolds of Iowa, Jim Pillen of Nebraska, and Kevin Stitt of Oklahoma. They're there showing support for Abbott's Texas Operation Lone Star, which is like his psychotic border quest to like try to kill as many migrants as possible with razor wire and shit. We're going to talk about that a little bit more later. So there's a really interesting thing with from a Republican pollster yesterday. It was talking about how like border security polls way more importantly with Republicans the further you get from the border, which is very, very weird to me.
That is weird.
But it's
what's
like
the
I get
explanation for it's because like the ones that live on the border like actually deal with it. Like instead of just reading about it or hearing the horror stories about it, they're there, so they see real people and stuff like that. Like
I guess it's sort of the same way with like rural people imagine big city crime and homelessness versus like me and you driving around LA or whatever. It's just like if you're familiar with it, it's just sort of an everyday problem. But if you're like if you're dealing with the cartoonish version of your imagination, then it's worse. But like so the stuff going on the border it's a big, complicated sort of mess. And what bugs me about this is there's no like actual real world grappling with how to like make it better for people who live there or the people who are crossing or the rest of us or anything. It's just like all this cartoonish shit. Like South Dakota does have like a problem with fentanyl and methamphetamine. But like we've talked about this before, but how the cartels have drones. All
Mhm.
right. They're not fentanyl's not coming in the butt crack of like a Salvadoran migrant. That's
Right.
not how these are cartels have billions of dollars. They have better plans than that. It comes across in the wheel wells of 18 wheelers, and they go use boats to go around the border on the west coast. And it's like so.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, stopping all the, like, families trying to swimming over and stuff like that is a completely separate issue than, like,
right,
the drugs that the cartels are transporting across the
right,
border. And, yeah, they got a problem there. South Dakota's a state in the US, like, they've all got problems with,
right.
fentanyl and meth and whatnot.
Right, but here's another the story I found. I was like, I wonder how bad South Dakota's fentanyl problem is. Here's a headline: South Dakota's overdose deaths have the greatest decrease across the U.S. in 2022. So it's actually less of a problem than most places. And getting like, so okay, according to the CDC, overdose deaths in South Dakota, this is overall fentanyl, methamphetamine, the leading two causes. We're down 18% from previous years. And the 18%, because not a lot of people live in South Dakota, is 102 deaths to 84. Now, I'm not saying 84
Yeah.
people dying isn't a big deal, but it's like
No. Well, no,
around here
dude.
as to most states.
Yeah, South
But go ahead,
Dakota, though, 84, that's like 38% of the people in South Dakota.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's rough there, yeah. Especially
Yeah.
since Matt left, it might bump it up to 39%, not
Matt probably knows 79 of the 84.
yeah,
So it also this one county. I only found one county where this guy was talking about it, but like 80% of the drug possession arrests were for methamphetamine, not fentanyl. But they always talk about fentanyl because fentanyl in their heads comes from China via Mexico, right? But methamphetamine is just made by your cousin Gary in his trailers. You can't really rag on migrants for that. So like they just don't talk about the biggest issue.
it's weird,
You
I
know
didn't
what
realize
I'm saying?
I didn't realize meth had that kinda staying power. I mean, look, I did, but also I'm just saying, like, I remember it's weird, it feels like it's almost sort of backwards, odd for America, I know, but, like, I can remember when I was in school in rural Tennessee in, like, the late '90s, early 2000s, the DARE program and stuff, it was mostly all about meth at the time. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It was all meth stuff. Like meth was the big crisis. Meanwhile, opioids is what was actually like ripping our, community apart, like actively at that time. But back then it was still, doctors prescribing it's not even addictive and all that type of shit. You know what I mean? They're talking about meth. Well, now it's like flip flopped. It's like everybody's talking about fentanyl, which is a problem. But I mean, 80% is meth. Like that just kind of surprised me. I didn't know meth was still, all the rage. And you guys are only listening to some classic meth PSAs here. One with a farmer sitting there and it says, meth, I'm on it. And then some young
Forgot about
kids,
that.
football team, meth, we're on it. It's like,
Yeah.
that's, that didn't focus group that or nothing? Like, how many layers of quality control did that go through where everybody was just like, "Yep, I see no issue with this whatsoever."
Yeah. Yeah. I just like I can't like it's difficult to argue about policy solutions in a country where like half the people are just totally detached from reality. Like Ron DeSantis
Yeah.
giving his speech over and over and over again. It's become like applause line in his stump speech where he says when he's president, he'll have basically people crossing the border summarily executed to stop illegal drugs.
Mm,
Like, oh, a war on drugs.
right.
I wish somebody thought to try that.
Yeah.
And it's like again, those aren't the people bringing the drugs in. While you're shooting like poor migrants at the border, the cartels will be inventing fucking teleportation technology to take it straight to South Dakota. So I don't
Yeah.
like understand like it's just like. By the way, nobody I was listening to a podcast who's trying to explain the fentanyl crisis because like no one's really done a good explainer for why they put it in cocaine and shit
I
or
know.
like why. But like one thing I didn't know is like fentanyl doesn't really hit for people that do it. Like a bad substitute for heroin that doesn't feel as good and also doesn't last as long and has a much higher risk of death. So really, if you want to get fentanyl overdoses down, the quickest
More
way to do it
heroin.
would be more heroin.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But like that's
Worth a
not a real.
shot. No pun intended.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. No,
but
that's
like,
why the whole like it's always been weird to me them putting it in cocaine too. But I guess it's just like it just I don't know. It adds something to a batch of cocaine, even though that thing could be bad. I mean, I don't get it because it's like I don't know why you'd want to kill, you know, your consumer base
well,
immediately anyway. But
the short answer is it's cheaper than cocaine, and
right,
Also, American cocaine, like this is a long explanation drill down, but like American cocaine is so stepped on that no one really knows what it feels like. So as
Right.
long as it gets the person high, I guess
Right. Like,
pharmaceutical grade cocaine, I guess feels like ecstasy, but
mhm.
Americans think of it as like a super strong cup of coffee, right?
Right.
But like so it's just if you substitute some of the cocaine into fentanyl, it'll still get the person, probably give them a better high while saving you money. And yeah, you don't want them to die, but also like that's a whole other conversation. Like sometimes having a batch of drugs that kills people is good advertisement for the strength of the drugs they're
Right.
for
Yeah,
adding.
because
So
it's like,
it's
oh,
yeah,
yeah, that's how you know it's the good shit, which is
yeah,
wild. But,
yeah,
drugs, man, hell of a thing.
yeah. Don't do them. If you do them, get the good shit. Use fentanyl test strips if you're a person
Yeah.
who likes to use basically any illegal drug right now. But like it's bad for the rest of us when these people get into power because reality, like none of their ideas would confront with reality at all. And that's usually a critique of liberalism. Like there's old expression like a conservative is just a liberal who's been mugged, right? That like your frou ideas about crime bump up against reality in the minute like you see it meet an actual criminal, which is like whatever, fuck that idea. But it's also a problem for them when it comes to campaigning. And this story, like I found really amusing. So one of the problems is like, yes, everyone knows Trump is super unelectable. The problem is GOP primary voters have been propagandized to believe that Joe Biden is senile and dying to the point that they don't think they need to worry about electability concerns. And that's just Ron DeSantis is a big problem, is that no one cares that he's the more electable. I don't think he is, but the more electable Donald Trump was his pitch.
Right.
Because Fox News viewers, all they see is videos of Bill Biden falling off his bike and shit, right?
And it's what's weird because it's kind of like that's kind of ironic too in a way because I feel like that was going on in 2016, but with Trump. Do you know what I'm saying? Like everything. Like I mean, I honestly didn't really think Trump would actually win. I was worried about it, but a gun to my head, I didn't think he would. And I think there were a lot of Democrats who were like, "Oh well, I mean, there's no way he's going to win." And then now they've got that going on, but with Biden because they're just so convinced. It's also like how much they hate Joe Biden, and this was the same thing with Barack Obama too. It's been the same way with all of them. It's like, whereas he's like, super moderate, pretty milquetoast bland. He's not like a raging progressive or anything like that. You know what I mean? But like, he's still, the new Antichrist in their eyes, just because he's the Democratic president or whatever. It's just, there's never going to be, I feel like there used to be presidents who, like, whatever party they were from, they could still become popular with everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that is ever going to happen unless there's some kind of paradigm shift in this country's politics completely. I just don't see that happening anymore. It's just this side versus this side. You're on one or the other, except for the weirdo fence sitters who I will never understand at this point.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they were able to turn. Barack was basically like a very sane milquetoast centrist too, but they were able to turn him into the Antichrist because of he's tan.
Yes.
And his middle name's Hussein. But
Right.
like, it's a weird. It's always been a weird play with Biden. But like the thing is, like they're so like propagandized. Like this from this video. I'm worried we lost Matt because they put up the graphic in a little bit, so maybe we won't see this. But this video from the our Republican National Committee Research Twitter account sent out this video of Joe Biden in Hawaii yesterday, and they thought it was like bad. And Matt, if you have this video, if you're alive, if you could play it.
Yeah, let's see if something's going on with Matt here. I can. Yeah, I see him in the dock. He's clicking around in the dock, so it'll be all right. Okay. Yeah, he was slipping on your graphics there, Mark. I don't know what's going on. All right.
What's the boss's name? I said, how you doing, pal? He's got his boots on, too. You guys catch the boots out here? That's a hot ground, man.
All right. So Joe Biden's visiting the Maui disaster, if you listen to the podcast version. And he's talking to the first responders, and he notices one of the dogs they have there searching for, dead bodies and maybe survivors. He notices the dog has boots on because the dog's walking around the debris and the ground's hot. So that's some hot ground there, and he pets the dog. And they're treating this like it's a fucking scandal. Like, it
just
shows
don't.
he has the dementia because he wanted to pet a dog for half a second.
Yeah, I don't get. Yeah, he acknowledged the dog. That's supposed to be like an endearing, humanizing thing for a politician. You know what I mean? It's like, I like dog. Look, he's a person just like us. He likes dogs or whatever. And then the hot ground thing. I mean, that's like a real problem with, so the dog had some kind of protection on his feet, right? Is what you're
Right.
saying? Right, because he needs it because it'll fuck his feet all up because the ground is super hot. So he sees that and says, "Yeah, there's some hot ground."
Yeah.
What
He's
is
also rummaging around in smoldering debris.
what is the problem with?
I don't know, but this is apparently a super big like Biden's Maui response, which as far as I can tell has been textbook aggressive as far as you can do with it. Like, Hawaii is a very remote place on Earth. It's way far out there. It's one of the things that make it so pleasant to like visit. Is you're away from everything. And the you took him like 6 hours to declare a federal emergency response, and like the Navy responded. And, like, it's like the governor of Hawaii and the mayor of Maui County both seem very happy with the disaster response. But like, they fabricated this thing where Joe Biden didn't say anything about it for 6 days, which he had. And he spoke about it in Utah like a day later. But then there's a thing that happened where some right-wing correspondent was doing the pool report, and he shouted a question and he didn't get an answer. And then he hired a lip reader to say that Joe Biden said no comment about the Maui. That's all the right-wing media has been reporting, is he no commented on Maui, as if the president's saying anything, does anything, as opposed to like actually responding. Whatever. He had said something anyway. But they're really, really mad about this dog thing. And if you want to see what it looks like, if you have this video clip of Judge Janine, Matt, play it.
Talking about talking to a dog. Are you kidding me? This is a guy who goes to an inferno where 1,000 people and children are missing because they cannot get any idea. They have been so destroyed. There's no odontology reports. There's no fingerprints. There's no body frames. There's nothing. That's why they can't identify everyone. And he talks to a dog, and he talks about the fact that he almost lost a cat. Are you kidding me? He almost lost a cat. Jill and I know what it's like to lose. This guy has been lying from the moment he came on the political scene. He has a lack of empathy. He is egocentric. He's got a condescending smirk whenever anybody asks him a question from the press. He's lying and he's narcissistic.
All right, you cut it back. So, look, I have my beefs with Joe Biden, but being narcissistic and inhumane is not like one of the things I would use to describe him.
Right.
But like it's like the cat story. He talked about how his kitchen caught on fire one time, and him and his wife thought that their cat had burned up, and it made him really sad. And he was just talking about people. They were talking about people losing pets and shit. Like, it wasn't like Biden made himself the center of the story. He was just telling an anecdote from his life, and somehow this is their takeaway from it. It's all very, very fucking stupid. Anyway, I don't even know how do you talk to these people?
Right. What was he supposed to do as far as the dog goes? Get that fucking dog out of here. Get back to work. We got what's everybody doing here? Like, start cracking whips or something? You know what I mean? Like, we need to be saving people. We can't have dogs around.
Dogs are all
happy with its tongue out. You know, like what's he?
Dogs are all good boys. A
Right.
rescue dog is the best of the best boys.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, how you're not supposed to pet the dog and say that's a good boy. Plus,
right.
They demanded the president go there, which is just a photo op. So he talks to disaster workers and pets a dog. That's a photo op. That's what you've been begging for. I don't fucking know.
Like, I remember there was another one when he visited Charles in England or whatever. He like stopped to talk to a guard, like one of the microphone hat guards. You know, which I feel like is just like, that's just acknowledging that guy as a human. You know what I mean? How's your day going, buddy? Type of thing. And like, Charles, it looked to me like Charles was like, oh, we don't do that here. You know what I mean? Like, don't speak to the help. That's what it looked like to me, because Charles was like gesturing him away from him or whatever. And they made some huge ordeal out of that too. They're like, he has to be led around by the king like a dog because he keeps getting distracted by people to talk to. It's just, like Obama with his tan suit and the mustard, whatever, he like Grey Poupon or something. And, you know, that type of shit.
He had a salad with arugula.
Yeah. They just don't, you know, they don't have much to go with. So, but they got a froth and rage. So they go with this shit.
Dude, I am able to get in a rage every week on this show about real stuff. There's real stuff. I swear to God, there's real
Well, yeah,
stuff.
we're raging at them. They
Right.
do a lot of rage-inducing shit. Like, they're raging at Joe Biden, and, you know, the things we get pissed off about at Joe Biden about are, like, things that they like about him. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. Or should
Like,
like about it. Yeah.
or should like about it. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's hard for them.
All right, let's talk about Texas. You want to?
Yeah.
All right. So me and Trey suffered through a simultaneous hurricane and earthquake over the weekend.
Mhm.
It was a wild times here in California. Hurricane turned out, but the other one turned out to be that bad. Not least the part of the city where I live in.
Yeah,
I'm sure
me
it was
neither.
awful for like the homeless population and people in certain
Yeah.
neighborhoods. I don't
I
know.
mean, it was
if you know
wild.
what-
Some of the pictures and stuff like shocked me because like
Mhm.
I landed at noon and it was raining and like the hurricane wasn't even here yet and it was already raining pretty good at LAX. And I was like, oh man, this might get ugly. And then Katie drove me up to Burbank. I live in Burbank. You live in the valley, not far from me. And like, it didn't get very bad here at all the whole time. But so I was shocked when I saw some of the pictures, like that picture of Dodger Stadium looking like an island, like it's just surrounded by water, just sitting there. And like, you know, it looked like, you know, it got pretty rough. They had like knee-high floodwaters in Coachella Valley and stuff like that. But yeah, where we're at, it didn't really amount to too much, honestly, which, you know.
No,
Good
it
thing.
wasn't as bad as anyone predicted, which wasn't that great for Governor Greg Abbott of Texas because he chose the first hurricane to hit Southern California since 1939 as an opportunity to target a busload of immigrants to ship here. Yeah, this asshole fucking put, I think, 40-some migrants on a bus to arrive in the middle of a hurricane.
Is the bus driver an immigrant too? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Is the bus driver not like a good Texan? You know what I'm saying? Like he's sending him into the heart of a hurricane, driving a bus. Like, I don't know. It's just wild.
Yeah, it's like I see what you're saying. I mean, it's a funny way to put it because it's like, you guys draw straws to be the one good Texan to die making this stupid fucking point.
Right.
And this is the 9th bus he's sent here this year. In June, they had a bus arrive with 42 migrants, several of them kids. They'd spent 23 hours in a bus to get to LA when they sent them without any food or water and like didn't stop, of course, because they were afraid they're going to run off the bus. But like, what kind of fucking idiot thinks that we'll show the city of Los Angeles, we'll send them 42 immigrants?
Right.
For a bus load of 42 immigrants in Los Angeles is every fucking city bus.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
it's not, you're just torturing these people for nothing. There's no like, we can handle it. It's fine. They're already put up in fucking hotels and shit. And this is coming at the time where Kristi Noem was speaking earlier, that big border crackdown, talking about how like immigration is a much more salient issue for Republican voters the further you get from the border. On the actual border, Abbott's border response is losing support super rapidly, right? Because these are people who actually live there. They were people complaining about like this one woman was like she liked the idea of stopping the fact that a bunch like 10, 12 migrants a day would walk across her pecan farm, right? But in exchange, she's got a militarized border security force of hundreds of jackboots trampling her fucking pecan farm.
Right.
Like, fuck this shit. The other way was better. It's like, this is not a solution to the problem. They're talking about state troopers installing razor wire. And people are like, one guy, he owns like a Sea-Doo rental place on the river. And he was like, yeah, it was like, I thought it was a problem when migrants were coming across while we're doing my boat tours and shit. But like, also like, he was horrified that like 2 people were brought to the hospital because of razor wire cuts they got on his section of the river. He's like, I don't want this.
Yeah, right. I mean, he's like, yeah, he takes people out on that river, you know, for aquatic leisure. And now he's got to deal with like a razor wire obstacle course or whatever. I'm sure he's not super into that. You know, if it happens like a good God-fearing Texan, he's going to get sued or whatever for some shit Greg Abbott did. And you just got like, you know, lethal detritus, whatever, you know, strewn all around your like place of business now. It's got to be a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's just like, this just so like even the Texas Department of Public Safety and Customs and Border Patrol has pushed back on Abbott's approach. When Border Patrol is like, this is getting too psycho, it's fucking too psycho.
Yeah,
like multiple people
they
drowned
live
in the river.
that shit.
Right, because these the buoys have like saw blades in between them so you can't come across the fucking buoys. Multiple people have drowned. There was an island in the middle of the Rio Grande that they bulldozed so people couldn't rest on it, so they would be more likely to drown trying to swim across it if the flow is heavy. It's like, this is not, I don't know what the solution is. This ain't it, right? But Greg Abbott isn't even the main scumbag we wanted to talk about today. We're talking about Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton is the kind of guy. Dan Patrick's another one. He's lieutenant governor in Texas, where I can't believe they've been around this long because they're such awful criminal shitheads who aren't even good at their job. Here's Ken Paxton on Steve Bannon's show a couple weeks ago, trying to say he stole Texas's electoral college votes for Donald Trump. If you play a little bit of this video, Matt.
It's certainly critical to my state, and that's why we fought off these 12 lawsuits. We had them in Houston, we had them in San Antonio, we had them in Austin, we had them in the counties where you'd have the most liberal judges. And it was a concerted effort nationally with lots of money going into it. And just knowing that we had 12 lawsuits that we had to win. And if we had lost one of them, like if we lost Harris County, Trump won by 620,000 votes in Texas. Harris County mail-in ballots that they wanted to send out were 2.5 million. Those were all illegal, and we were able to stop every one.
All right,
had we not
cut it, Matt. Nothing you said there was not a lie. He did not. Harris County did vote a lot by mail. He did not stop a single vote from getting counted in Harris County. But like, yeah, Trump did barely win Texas, which tells you something about the psychotic state of Texas politics that is so utterly dominated by Republicans, where the votes are literally not that far apart. If you're wondering why he's talking like this, why he's trying to sound as Trumpy as possible, it's because he just got impeached and he might be removed from office coming up soon. His trial is going to be on September 5th.
They've got a hardcore Republican supermajority, right, in their state house. Like, what did this guy do that they are actually impeaching him or whatever? Because they don't do that usually. Not in Tennessee anyway. Fucking, you can get away with murder if you got,
we're going to get to that, Trey. That's what the show's about. All right. But first, I want to tell you, like, the reason he's doing this is because he only has support. He's such a shithead. He only has support from outside the state really anymore. He might be able to get enough votes to save his own ass, but like, it's going to be barely. He's got the support of like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz and the online psychos, which is why he's trying to be Trumpy as hell. But his first response, like when he knew he was going to be impeached, talk about one of the reasons all these motherfuckers hate him, is he called for the Speaker of the House, who's also a Republican by the name of Dade Phelan, to resign, accusing him of being drunk on the House floor. All right. This was his Hail Mary plea to try to stop his impeachment inquiry from going forward. It did not work. It only made everybody madder at him. And if you want to know if he was drunk, I want to play this video and I'll let you vote for it. This is Dade Phelan.
Mr. Ramey sends up an amendment to the amendment. The amendment to the amendment is supplemental the authors the objection to the adoption of the amendment. A record of vote has been requested by Mr. Middleton. The clerk will ring the bell. Show Mr. Hunter voting aye, Mr. Ramey voting aye. Show Ms. Johnson Harris voting aye.
All right, you got it, Matt.
Wow, wait. Hold on. I like the hammer part.
Okay, great.
If you guys are only listening, I'm sorry, but yeah.
Mr. Hunter voting aye.
Yeah.
Have all members voted? There be 90 ayes and 40 nays.
Like his gavel there or whatever.
Yeah,
that hit. He seems pretty hammered to me. Like, no pun intended. Again.
Yeah. So there's two possible
takeaways Paxton, here. But like, if his whole thing's like, I think this dude is drunk, then like, I don't know. I kind of also think this dude is drunk.
He's hella drunk, but like, there's one, like, two takeaways here. One, he's so under the influence, he's being fooled into think that Ken Paxton's corrupt. Or two, even a fucking drunken asshole can see that Ken Paxton is fucking corrupt, right? But I'm going to quote here from a Texas politics writer by the name of C.D. Hooks. Being drunk on the House floor, if he was, is the legislative equivalent of a Class Lee misdemeanor in Texas. In the House, where members often work multiple 18-hour days back to back, lawmakers drink, which Paxton knows because he has served there for a decade. So basically, it's like, this is Texas. Everybody's drunk all the time.
Yeah, we're all drinking whiskey. We shoot through the ceiling. It's Texas. It's just a little different. It's like a saloon in the state house.
Yeah. So his fight with the House has been pretty funny. Again, this is Republican dominated. So this is an inter-Republican fucking scandal or fight. Ken Paxton's repeatedly said they don't have any evidence to impeach him. So they weren't going to release any evidence ahead of the impeachment, but he made the House so mad, they said, fuck it, and dropped 4,000 pages of evidence. All right. The bulk of it's about, it's a lot of details about Paxton misused his office to help his friend named Nate Paul, who's an Austin real estate investor and campaign donor, who was being investigated by federal authorities as his businesses were floundering. Basically, Paxton said, you can't impeach me because you're drunk. And the drunk said, fuck you, I'm impeaching you. And they said, you don't have any evidence. Said, fuck you, here's 4,000 pages of evidence. We got you dead to rights. This is all deeply personal. These are all personal beefs, which adds to the intrigue here, because you're never going to be aware of all of them. But like among these allegations, they include stuff that he used a burner phone and secret email accounts and a fake Uber name to hide his relationship with Nate Paul and his own mistress. If you want to let's talk about Nate Paul for a second and what Paxton actually accused of doing. He forced his staff to write a 1 a.m. legal opinion declaring foreclosure sales unsafe because of COVID, because the state was trying to foreclose on Nate Paul's properties, which is deeply funny because Ken Paxton was a COVID denier.
Right.
And the pause on foreclosures and evictions was not to help investors. It was to help people not lose their houses.
Right. So his buddy is this big investor who is facing foreclosure on his faltering businesses. And then Paxton, who's a COVID denier, said that was unethical to foreclose on his buddy's businesses because of COVID.
Yeah. He had 9 properties you're about to go into. This guy was a billionaire who got way underwater for whatever reason, I don't know, and then somehow was doing improper shit with his money that got the feds interested. So, what Paxton tried to do was he tried to appoint a special prosecutor to target Paul's adversaries, including like the FBI agents who were investigating Paul. All I can tell, though, what Paxton got out of this was a $25,000 campaign donation, his house remodeled, a job for his mistress, and an Uber account that Paul paid for, which just seems like not a lot to try to go to prison for.
Right.
But maybe it was maybe it was a hell of a kitchen remodel. But being the Texas Attorney General and trying to investigate the FBI to defend one guy's financial shithittery is like really.
Yeah. There's got to be there has to be something else to that. He's got to have some kind of like, I don't know. There's got to be some skeletons in some closets or something, or there's something going on with these two dudes for him to go to bat for him to that degree. Cause like you said, 25 grand or whatever, doesn't seem like enough to risk it all, like just blatantly being corrupt in order to help your one rich friend out. You know what I mean? Like they've killed some whores together or something. I don't know.
I wouldn't doubt it. But a lot of the testimony in the impeachment inquiry is like from people that used to work for Paxton. They're saying that like he was deeply envious of other people's financial situations and thought he deserved to be a lot richer. And it was basically like stuff like just basically that drove most of his behavior, that and having an affair with a younger woman. So Nate Paul, by the way, it was like a rags to riches story. And if you wonder why his like crimes are overlooked, one of his main investors when he started his $1 billion real estate fund was the pension fund for the Austin Police Department. So they couldn't afford to lose their money. So that's part of this. But so they quote here from an article about him. Walk through downtown Austin. It's rapidly developing nearby neighborhoods. It's impossible to miss the massive black banners draped over office buildings, warehouses, and bars. Another world-class project, reads one post of the metal siding of the Squad Industrial Building downtown. His company is called World Class, right? So that's another world-class project. Other banners just say, quote, DJ Khaled and say another one. So he's like a DJ Khaled fan who's turned that into his fucking real estate company. This is just, oh God, the weirdest people.
Everybody's a cartoon, man. Always.
Yeah. So Paul apparently, when his building, I mentioned he had 9 buildings getting foreclosed on. To make this look like a grassroots thing, like a bunch of poor people trying to stop poor people from getting evicted, he paid fake protesters to protest Nate Paul's buildings being foreclosed on, to try to make himself into a left-wing cause celeb. All right. These guys, oh God. All right, let's talk about the affair. All right. So he had Nate Paul, Paxton did, pay for an Uber account under an alias where he called himself Dave P. Paxton didn't even come up with a fake whole last name for himself. He just called himself Dave P. He used it not just to hide the fact he was meeting with this, having an affair with this woman from his wife, but also to hide his meetings with Nate Paul. He paid for meetings for rides to meet with Paul. Also, like I said, he had Paul give his mistress a job. But like the thing is, like the why now part of this is interesting because Paxton, has been corrupt for like fucking decades. Let me read like a short list of stuff he's been doing. He's been doing. He was charged with securities fraud in 2015, and he still hasn't gone to trial for that because he keeps getting it delayed. Among other infractions, he took money from a company that benefited from a state contract that he invested in a property that his district that a local government would soon buy at markup. In private life, he was a probate lawyer adjudicating wills in the states, and he stood accused of improperly skimming money off the top from a wealthy deceased client. He famously stole a fellow lawyer's Mont Blanc pen at the Collin County Courthouse and only returned it after caught red-handed on security camera footage. He stole another lawyer's fucking pen.
Yeah.
Until he was caught on camera.
Dude, that's like, that might sound like, well, first of all, I don't know shit. I'm a fancy pen dumb, but a Mont Blanc like that, like how much we talk, like what's that worth? It's got to be a pretty sweet pen for it to be worth mentioning. Like,
Matt, can you Google it and put it in the chat? Because yeah, I'm interested.
Like pens is what we're talking about here. But anyway, it might sound like a relatively smaller thing, but like if anybody that'll do that is like a, duplicitous pathological bag of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like doing it and then like get caught red-handed doing it too. It's like just utterly shameless. It's definitely indicative of something.
Yeah. So the Matt says $1,500. $1,500 for a pen. I'll stick with a Bic.
Yeah. I like the gel ones. You like the gel ones?
Yeah.
Those are my
the gel ones are nice.
Yeah.
So the why now part of this, what happened recently was a bunch of whistleblowers came forward about a bunch of corrupt shit going on in the Attorney General's office. Paxton illegally fired them. They sued him. He knew he was going to lose, so he settled for $3.3 million in taxpayer money, and then he asked the state lawmakers to pay for the settlement. So
right. He's able to do that because this part confused me at first, but so he's able to do that because they're suing the office of the Attorney General. So the office of the office of the Attorney General settled for $3.3 million.
Right.
That's why, so that's taxpayer money. And so he goes to the state Congress. It's like, hey, I need $3.3 million, by the way. Because this fuck up I'm trying to cover up over here. Yeah, some hush money. Okay.
So even though it's a trivial amount of money for the Texas state budget, they were like, this is fucking embarrassing. We're not going to do it. Pay it out of your own budget, stupid. You're not even actually doing any lawyer work. You're stealing money anyway. Use some of that $3.3 million. So they basically refused to pay it. And then the impeachment is the byproduct of that. So it's not they were even frustrated with all the years and years of corruption. They didn't want him to drag their name into it, is all they were asking for. And he couldn't even not do that. But the punchline to all this is that one of the state senators who will be sitting on his trial to decide he was removed from office is his wife, Angela Paxton, whose affair has been revealed, who he's been cheating on was revealed in this impeachment inquiry. Now,
awkward.
She would have had the opportunity to do the funniest fucking thing of all time, except the Senate voted that she should be recused from it because of her personal connection to the case, which is the opposite of what should happen. She has more information about what a shithead is than anybody else involved in this thing. Now, she might still would have been voted to impeach because this is one of those evangelical Christian families that
stand by your man type thing.
Yes. Yes. But like, because this lady, by the way, I can't really feel sorry for anybody involved in this. Like Angela Paxton, she's one of these super hard right pro-life people. Her and Ken co-founded one of those awful fraud mega churches outside of Dallas. She also, in February of 2019, she introduced a Senate bill which would have allowed her husband, again, who's the Attorney General, the power to issue exemption from securities regulations. Remember, he's literally still awaiting trial on securities fraud charges, and she's trying to give him the authority to do more securities fraud. What I'm saying is, like, fuck drunk ass Dade Phelan, fuck Ken Paxton, fuck Greg Abbott, fuck Angela Paxton. I hope they all fucking lose with this, whatever's going on here. And this is only going to get stupider because Brad Parscale, Trump's former campaign manager, one that partnered with the Cambridge Analytica to do all that digital fuckery in 2016, he's running a digital effort to keep Ken Paxton in office by recruiting these psycho right-wing Gen Z TikTok influencers. There's no level of dumb this cannot get to.
What is the rationale for? Because you said earlier also that the extremely lunatic MAGA contingent like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Gates and them, they're like backing him too, and now this is but I mean, why? Like, why is he worth them going to bat like that against the whole super Republican Texas state legislature? You know what I mean? Like,
well, Republicans are objectively pro-corruption in general.
Sure.
Two,
yeah, this guy's got the makings of a real star, I think.
Yeah. Ken Paxton is one of those psycho attorney generals who's also suing Biden over everything. So he's like a real MAGA star. He was he tried to overturn the election for Trump. So like they're calling the psychotically right-wing House senators and state reps rhinos.
Yeah, right.
They're saying that the Democrats seek to control the state house in Texas. I don't know how.
Sure.
Why they govern the way they do if they would.
I'm about to say, what are they doing with that power then? If it's secretly controlled by the Democrats, they're focusing all that on just this one dude instead of doing a bunch of other Democrat shit, instead of all the crazy right-wing shit that Texas stay doing as a state. Yeah,
they're just impeaching Ken Paxton to replace him with some other equally right-wing psycho who won't steal pens. That's the limits of what they're going to do. So yeah.
Shee-wee. Maybe somebody should mess with Texas. I don't know. But Matt, if you got some questions and or comments for us, put them up there. Tennessee Bear says some Mont Blancs. I like the Mont Blanc. Some Mont Blancs go for up to $16,000. That's one hell of a pen right there. You know.
Yeah. What you gonna write with a pen that fancy, Trey? You're not making to-do lists with that, right? That's just for signing like big deals.
Signing big deal, exactly. Yeah. John on YouTube says a fancy fountain pen is useless to communicate with the crayon brigade. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it's one of them. Yeah, one of them pens that's got the it don't have a ball point at the end. It's got that, like the tip. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Looks like a little arrow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I kind of like the ball. I like the old-fashioned ball. I like the other ones like feel scratchy. I like scratchy stuff. Like I can't really eat popsicles because I like the feeling of the wood on my teeth. So like even right with
all got our things.
Yeah.
Suzanne Smith says gel pens are da bomb. I like how you use da bomb because that's chronologically appropriate terminology for praising the big gel pens because big in the 90s. I don't know. Gel pens may still be out here killing it for all I know. I hope so because they were a good quality item. Wasn't expecting all the comments to be pen focused, but I'm fine with it. I'm here for it. Still going. Candace Weiss says Sharpies are my flex. Yeah. I've said, I was going to say I have terrible handwriting. I used to say I had the handwriting of a serial killer, but then I went to my hometown to clean out that house I was talking about earlier, found a bunch of papers I'd written as a high schooler and sent some pictures of it to you and Corey and Drew or whatever. And you guys started making fun of me for having like stupid girly handwriting. You said I write fancy, which really threw me for a loop. Mo RFD says, hit the like button. Thank you, Mo. Yes, everybody, please hit the like button. It helps apparently. But yeah, like, share, subscribe. Kim Cusado, a longtime skewer, says, is it true that the Georgia State House is changing the rules so they can remove Fonnie Willis from office for no damn reason? I know that one guy called for something, right? Like a Georgia State senator was like, I demand an investigation, impeachment or whatever. But
the last thing I saw about that was I didn't see anything about it recently. There was there was a move to try to do it a couple weeks ago, months ago, and then the most recent movement I saw is somebody tried to bring a court case to take it out of her jurisdiction, and they lost. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure Fonnie Willis's case is going to be the most important one. And for the January 6th related federal one feels like the real deal. Although she's actually prosecuting other shitheads besides Trump, so that would hit for me that they all caught some charges. Yeah.
And isn't she still? She's saying she's going to do it all at once.
She was trying, but they're all making motions. Like Mark Meadows is trying to remove his to federal court, which is like I didn't know you could do this, but you can sometimes you can still move a state charge to federal court. But yeah, law dumb. So.
Law dumb, as always. Okay is wonderful, says healthcare shootings, inflation, climate change. No, ink pens are the issue. This far, no further. Pilot G2 for the win. Pilot G2, that's the type of pen, right?
I think he's saying you won't prize ink pen out of his cold dead hands. I think when I was in like school, there were rapid advances in pencil and pen technology. Like we got the mechanical pencil when I was a kid, and then we had those. Remember those pens where they had 4 different colors in one pen?
I knew that's what you were gonna say.
Yeah,
I knew
Whatever happened to that?
Revolutionary. I don't know. I saw one at some point in the somewhat recent past. That they got like 8 or 9 colors on some of them now. Didn't even know you could have that many colors of ink. But yeah,
God damn.
So yeah, they're still out here working on it.
Born too soon.
Miss Anonymous 617 says a Fox host really said Biden let the hurricane hit California. I just can't with these people.
I saw that clip. It was Kennedy, the former MTV VJ, and I think she was clearly joking. She was like, the hurricane came up from Mexico, so of course Biden let it in. And I was like, I don't mind being unfair to these people, but I was like, that's clearly tongue in cheek. Even though Kennedy sucks, I just think in that instance she was just making a joke. It was a joke about.
I mean, it's
but
clearly,
yeah,
clearly all the gay sex out here is what caused the hurricane. Right? Well, we all know that. You know, that's pretty standard. Yeah, I don't know. What was the thing Trump when he was president? A hurricane and a Sharpie. Because we're talking Sharpies, we're talking hurricanes. You remember what I'm talking about? There's like a hurricane coming through, and he did something with a Sharpie. It was real dumb. Like,
yeah, he moved the course of a hurricane to try to make
just by drawing it with a Sharpie. He was like, no, see, it's gonna be fine. It's going.
Yeah, he had like the National Weather Service projections, and because he hadn't done any preparedness, he was trying to make it look like it wasn't going to hit mainland Florida. So he just drew an arrow off to the left.
Yeah, as you can clearly see here.
Matt found an article for us. Georgia enacts law letting panel punish House prosecutors. That's from May 5th. Yeah, so this happened. This was months ago. They technically like how DeSantis has been removing prosecutors. They can do it, I guess, if they have cause. I'm not sure how much cause they need. It's a commission that was empowered to discipline or remove waiver prosecutors, saying it will curb far left prosecutors who are making our communities less safe. The premise for all this stuff in DeSantis, it's like they basically make every Democrat prosecutor out to be a reform prosecutor and say they're the reason crime's going up, even if it's going down.
Right.
Yeah.
Didn't we just talk about that?
There was a prosecutor he moved in I think Orange County, Florida, who he's mad at her over she put out a statement about one of the anti-trans bills or something, saying she was against it. So he removed her with the premise being that somebody who was free on bail had shot a cop or something. So yeah. But yeah, it was just
no, I think it was a Patreon thing. They were talking about it on Twitter. Like he went on some tirade about, I remember Trump did a Truth Social bitching about Fonnie Willis, and he blamed her for a quote giant murder wave. Like he said she was responsible for a giant murder wave that had hit Georgia. And then a lot of other people were quoting that and pointing out that actually murders are down from last year or whatever. You know what I mean? And, that shocker, none of that shit was true. But yeah, just a giant murder wave. It's funny to me.
It's like, I like that people think that certainly murder rates respond to some stuff, but also
that a prosecutor is the reason.
Murder rates are also heavily influenced by how many people come home early from work and catch their spouse cheating, which I'm not sure the government can have any impact on.
Yeah, when something like that happens, you're not like, oh shit, I better not. Fonnie Willis is in office now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you don't. Right, I agree with you. Grandma M says, did I miss the discussion of the idiots in the Tennessee State Special Legislative Session? We talked about it a little bit at the very top. So yes, you may have if you came in a little bit late. But
we only spent 2 minutes on it. Most of us on Melissa Joan Hart.
Yeah. Clarissa explaining it all. All right, listen, guys, thank you for being here. I want to real quick again go to TreyCrowder.com, get tickets to see me on my ever ongoing tour. Also, you can pre-order the book me and Corey wrote on there, Around Here and Over Yonder. Also, even if you just watch this show, if you would subscribe to it on your audio podcast platforms, that would hit for us. And lastly, you can sign up on Patreon, weeklyskews.com/more, or go on Patreon, look me up. $5 a month, full-length bonus episodes, support the show in the process. Either way, the important thing is you keep coming back every Tuesday, Skews, as it may be, and we will as well. So with that said, we'll see you next week.